Hey everyone, long time no see. Welcome back to Shrads Books. It's a place for nerds who like words. And as usual, I have to give you a disclaimer. This is not a work of fiction, but it is most definitely about works of fiction. This podcast is about books, especially fiction novels, the authors that I have read, books that I like, sometimes dislike. And since it is my podcast, obviously it's about my opinions and views. So it's possible that you don't like them or agree with them. If that's the case, please feel free to switch off. Don't be rude. Don't be a bully. And please don't be a Karen. Today, we are going to go on a journey to an unexpected and unusual land of stories. The world is a beautiful place, and it is filled with wonder and awesome stories. Some that we know, some we don't. The world of mythology and folklore is always a fascinating one. Every country in the world has their own fair share of these wonderful elements that are shaped by their own environment. So even when you have similarities in the pantheon, the function of them is vastly different. I am raised in India, so Indian myths and folklore is familiar to me. Most English literature is influenced one way or another with Greek or Roman mythology. So that is also pretty familiar to anyone who reads. It's astonishing how many similarities exist between the Greco-Roman pantheon and the Indian one. Egyptian mythology and pantheon are familiar but not so similar. So I was under the impression that I'm very well versed or at least well read about how gods would look and feel in other cultures. And since in the world of food, Indian and Mexican share a similar palate, I was under the impression that we might also share similar mythology or gods. Little did I know how wrong I could be and how false my knowledge and confidence was. Silvia Moreno-Garcia was a new name for me. But the book cover was so interesting and the byline of the book was so mysterious that I had to pick it up. Now the byline said, "A Mayan god of death sends a young woman on a harrowing, life-changing journey in this one-of-a-kind fairy tale inspired by Mexican folklore." Now, so for those who don't know anything about Spanish or Mayan folklore, it isn't anything like the Indian or the Greek one. And there are times when you find it hard to grasp the narration. But hold to it, okay? Stay with it. And I promise you, it offers you a very rich experience. The book opened up a whole new world to me. The novel is a story of Casiopea. Now, this is a sweet little girl who lives in southern Mexico. A girl who has a heart of an eagle, who knew that she was part of a bigger world and she wanted to explore it. She's stuck in a family where girls don't get a voice just because they're girls, and especially girls without a father. She's suffocated in this rural world where her views are trampled only because of her gender. She's stuck and she feels like she's not heard. If it was a luck or accident, I am still unsure, but she stumbles upon a chest in her grandfather's room and opens it. The events lead her into setting free the Mayan god of death. Now, since I'm not Mexican or I'm not very well versed with Mayan names, I could be pronouncing it wrong and I'm really sorry about it. But we're going to stick to the name or the pronunciation of the word, Hun-Kame. Okay, that's the Mayan god of death. Now, that's the one that she releases. Okay, sets free actually. By the fate or by the happenstance, her life is then tied to this life of this god of death. He is almost free. Okay, he's a god, but he's still mortal at the moment when she frees him, and his life or his existence gets tied up with Casiopea. Now he needs her to take a journey that would restore him to his kingdom, Xibabla. Now it's basically underworld. It's basically Mayan underworld. Okay, it's a place where his brother is ruling, and Hun-Kame's brother is the one who had imprisoned him into the chest that Casiopea opens. Now the situation is like she needs him. Okay, because if he needs her to travel in that journey is her way out of her small town. It's a journey that would let her to go on an adventure of her own, get out of the small town. What follows ahead is a very engaging and strange tale of a journey. Okay, as much as a physical journey as it is mental and emotional. Now, in him, she is learning a strange world of freedom, danger, and self-awareness. In her, he is finding his humanity, if that's even possible for a god. Now, it isn't a love story, okay, in the traditional sense of the word, but it is about love. It's about self-discovery, and it's about learning how to deal with the world, with all its ups and downs. Things you expect about things that you should not expect from the world. Now, Casiopea and Hun-Kame are a very strange pair. They're the oddest pair you can ever imagine. And the subtle bond that they form between themselves is even more odd. Okay, it's not friendship, but it's not familial also. They have an interdependency that is thrust upon them, and that interdependency over the period slowly evolves into something more. I'm not being able to find the right word to define what that more is, but there is more, and I think that is the beauty of it, the complexity of this bond that is more, and want it to be more, and then but it is still less than what you want it to be. So it's a narrative that makes you think, and if you are like me, you will find a lot of little gems that touch your heart unexpectedly. Take for example this particular conversation that they're having. It's a conversation about how we name things, and how it is important to name things, or put titles to things. Hun-Kame tells Casiopea that words are seeds, Casiopea. With words you embroider narratives, and the narratives breed myths. And there's power in the myth. So yes, things you name have power. It's bright little gems like these that keep you engaged in the story. You see both these protagonists growing, both struggle with mortality and the need to be something more than what they are at the moment. And near the end of the tale, there is this beautiful struggle that Hun-Kame goes through, where for a brief moment he wants to give it up, his immortality, for her. And you as a reader struggle to understand his feelings. Okay, at least in my case, I was somehow disturbed by his thoughts. While I loved the blossoming relationship that they had, I didn't want the story to take, the typical "and they lived happily ever after" route. And I'm actually very glad that Silvia Moreno didn't really go that way. And I think that's a great thing about this book. In this book, nothing is predictable. Nothing goes as you expect it to be, or everything here is fresh and everything is novel. So, I guess in one word, what I would say, go ahead and pick up Gods of Jade and Shadow. It's a very unusual voice. It's a beautiful little story, and I'm so looking forward to picking more up from Silvia Moreno-Garcia in future. In short, a big thumbs up. Hey, thanks for sticking by for the review. It was a wonderful pleasure talking in your ear. If you liked what you hear, please subscribe and share this little podcast with a lot of friends. I will see you soon. Till then, keep reading.